Bienvenidos! This is Bizarro World News. I'm Dan, and today we're talking about, drumroll, the end of the world. Sadly, it's not anything as fun as switching on a Large Hadron Collider. It's just some good old-fashioned biblical apophenia. Apophenia is the tendency to attribute meaning to perceived connections or patterns between seemingly unrelated things. Things in this instance being passages from the New Testament book of Revelations and the position of certain astrological constellations. I don't need to get into specifics of what verse applies to which star cluster. Needless to say, serious shit is going down on September 23rd. We're shooting this about a week out. September 23rd hasn't happened as we shoot this, but it's safe to say that we'll probably leave this video up after September 23rd passes. It's just another day, no rapture happening. This thing's called the Revelation 12 sign. If you do want to do your own search on the internet and read about it, Revelation 12 sign. We don't precisely know who started the whole thing, but it seems to have been first talked about in 2011 by two different religious vloggers, William Tapley and then Scott Clark. And a recent article I read cited Christian numerologist David Mead as pushing the theory. So I'm not sure who the first person to come up with this is. Regardless, the world isn't ending on September 23rd. No matter what crazy thing might go or have gone down, the world continues. See, one of the tricks of apocalyptic prophecy is that anything that happens on that day will be shoehorned into an explanation/interpretation of why the world didn't end and why the date of when the world ending has now changed or become unknown. Best case scenario, very, very sadly, the best case scenario for the folks pushing these claims, various religious pontificators of the modern online world, the best case scenario for them is for something like a successful North Korean nuclear attack or some mass terror event. If something like that were to have ended up happening on September 23rd, all these guys would be all over the moon about how right they were. It would be, honestly, it'd be like winning the Powerball. Like that's for them, you know? That's how sick of a thing we're talking about when someone comes along and predicts the end of the world. And we should all think about that. We should think about that when we consider our own religious beliefs. As I, for one, strongly believe peace and prosperity is a viable option for the future. I sure hope it is. Don't you? End of days, Armageddon, apocalyptic prophecies are all poisonous to our expectation of the future. And consider this. When looking at a list of all the notable end-of-time prophecies from the year 66 to 1378, it's about 1,300 years, you get 17 failed predictions. Then in 1440, the printing press is invented. The Bible starts getting mass-produced, specifically the book of Revelations. The thing that they use as evidence in arguing in favor of the end of times is here. They're now read more than ever. Well, we've had 132 notable end of times predictions in the last 500 years. 1,300 years, 17 predictions. 500 years, 132 failed predictions. Just something fun to think about. Now, I did watch one of these videos for myself. It was in particular from Mr. William Tapley, one of the first to claim the connections of the September 23rd date and the book of Revelations, chapter 12. You know, the one with the dragon. Anyhow, I watched this video, And he's actually pitching the idea that this is a false flag rapture. It's not really the rapture, it's a fake one in which Satan's little helpers go around. They go around making certain evil people disappear, presumably, killing them and hiding the evidence. And then after all these evil people disappear, the good people not raptured, left behind by the false flag operation, they're all going to assume that the missing evil people have to be their new role models because they were really good, and that's why they're gone. Because they've been tricked. Did you follow all that? I wish I was making it up. And truth be told, I couldn't. I think it takes a true believer to come up with and push those kinds of fantastic ideas. In fact, there's a famous work of social psychology entitled When Prophecy Fails. If you get a chance, you should give it a try, give it a read. It follows a small group of people in the 1950s called the Seekers. They believed in an imminent apocalypse. And the book describes their coping mechanisms after the apocalypse did not occur. To sum it up, a good amount of the group believed even harder after the end of times didn't happen, and they tried especially hard to convert people to their way of thinking. And sadly, that's what we'll see here with any of the folks pushing the Revelation 12 sign as the rapture event. Anything catastrophic will be the reason for why they were correct on their numbers, and any lack of people floating up into heaven will be reasoned away with tales of some brief reprieve. Because remember, thanks to the book of Revelations, the end is always near. This has been a Bizarre World News Report. I'm Dan, and hey, have a bright future.